In this video, I'll be covering Group 1 strategy for 10-man Sindragosa. You're going to need 2 tanks and 3 healers for this strategy. On the pole, your tank's going to move onto the platform, which is going to aggro the boss. She's then going to land in the center of the platform, and your tank will need to pick her up. Your tank will need to position her and turn her as soon as possible to prevent her cone of cold from burning down your raid. Now, this fight is broken down into 3 phases. You'll have your ground phase, your air phase, and your berserk phase. During the ground phase, she's going to be doing constant AoE damage to your raid, as well as applying 2 debuffs to raid members. The first debuff is called Unchained Magic. It will be applied to 2 random casters and will always be on at least 1 healer. This debuff will cause you to gain a stacking debuff called Instability every time you cast a spell. Instability will have a short duration, and at the end of it will do 2,000 damage per stack to the caster. If you get Unchained Magic, just continue to cast until you get 4 to 5 stacks, then stop, allow them to clear, and begin casting again. The second debuff affects physical DPS and works a little bit differently. Every time a physical DPS hits the boss, they have a 20% chance to build a stack of Permeating Chill. The debuff is going to do 1000 frost damage per stack every 2 seconds. This debuff applies to tanks as well, so make sure they're paying attention. As with instability, once you hit 4 to 5 stacks, you need to stop DPS, allow your stacks to clear so that you don't overwhelm your healers. Now 80% in every 2 minutes after, Sindragosa will go into her air phase. During her air phase, she will target 2 people with Frost Tomb. They'll be marked with a blue arrow, and DBM will also put raid marks on them. We had Skull go to the right and X go to the left to avoid them from killing each other with the Frost Tomb damage. Also, your raid needs to stay back until they are frozen, or it will freeze anyone near the target of the Frost Tomb. The raid's then going to move behind the tombs and DPS them down steadily. The goal here is to line of sight the 4 frost bombs she will throw out. As you watched in the video, you saw 4 marks get placed on the ground. All you're going to do is LOS them behind the ice tomb while DPSing it down. Make sure you don't DPS them down too early like we did in this video, or lots of people in your raid will take a big hit. After 4 bombs, Sindragosa will land and ground phase will begin again. Now there are 2 other major abilities to look out for during her ground phase. The first of these is Blistering Cold. Throughout the fight, Sindragosa will pull the entire raid into the middle and begin casting Blistering Cold. The raid must get 25 yards away from Sindragosa before she finishes casting, or you'll be killed by the AoE. As you watch here, you can see us run out. Second major ability is Cone of Cold. This should only hit your tank as it will one-shot anyone else, so don't get in front of her. Cone of Cold is spike damage on your tank. Healers need to be ready to pre-shield and land a heal shortly after it hits your tank to prevent him from being killed. In order to make the enrage timer on this boss, you need to put her into her berserk phase before her third air phase. Now to help the raid make this enrage timer, we had our third healer, Nate, DPS as Resto, as well as our off-tank Jacob, DPS and Blood Presence. They will not be needed in phase 1 and 2 of this fight. This is a much better example of how to handle the air phase than our first one. As you can see, the raid's maneuvering around the ice tombs to make sure that LOS and the frost bombs. If you look on the ground there, you'll see the target swirling, you LOS it, it hits, and then you find the next one. Always know where they're going to land. One thing I forgot to mention is always make sure the targets of the Frost Tomb are topped off. They will be taking a large hit when they get frozen. In Phase 3, when they're taking additional magic damage, this can one-shot your raid members, so make sure you top them off anytime there's someone targeted by Ice Tomb. At 35%, the boss is going to enter her Berserk phase. She'll remain grounded for the rest of the fight. She will also continue to use all abilities she used in the beginning of the fight throughout this phase. The boss will also now apply a stacking debuff called Mystic Buffet the rest of the fight. This debuff will increase magic damage taken by 10% per stack. This is where your third healer is going to have to stop DPSing and start healing. Now this debuff will make permeating chill and instability a lot more dangerous than it was, so make sure your DPS and casters are not pushing past 5 stacks. The raid is also going to be taking more damage from her constant AoE as well. Now in order to clear your stacks of Mystic Buffet, you will need to LOS the boss behind the ice tombs she's going to place on random raid members. When you are targeted with the ice tomb, you'll move down the stairs and to the right. You want to get close to the tank, but not so close as you freeze him. Also, make sure you don't get in front of the boss so you don't get hit by Cone of Cold. The raid is then going to move behind the ice tomb to clear their stacks and DPS it down before it kills the raid member entombed. As a tip, healers, it is possible to LOS the boss while still being able to heal your tank if you angle yourself correctly on the ice tomb. After you destroy the tomb, your raid needs to get out of the area quickly, as there's another tomb on its way. Make sure there's no one in the area so that you don't have multiple people get frozen at once, which you'll see here shortly. Now, if for whatever reason you do not kill an ice tomb quick enough, you're going to have 2 up. If that happens, the second person to get targeted will simply move to the left side of the raid and drop their ice tomb there, as you can see right now. All your raid has to do is go to the other side, clear your stacks again, and DPS that ice tomb down. If you do this too often, you will not make the enrage timer. Now the tanks in this phase are going to be alternating clearing stacks and taunting. After the first tomb, the off tank's going to run up, clear his stacks. He will then move to the boss and taunt. The main tank will then run behind the nearest frost tomb, clear his stacks, and go taunt. This needs to be done every tomb. It is okay if a tank misses 1 tomb. However, if they miss 2, the tank currently on the boss will probably need to pop a defensive cooldown so that Cone of Cold does not one-shot them. The last 35% of this fight will go very slowly. So long as you got her to Berserk phase before her 3rd air phase, you shouldn't be able to make the enrage timer without too much trouble. What you're about to see is something you want to avoid. As the target of the ice tomb moves to his spot, one of our tanks gets too close and freezes with him. Now this is going to set your DPS behind. They need to burn down both of these tombs before the next raid member is frozen. So long as nobody panics and everyone does what they're supposed to do, the next person that gets the ice tomb can simply run out, freeze on the left side, and you'll go back to doing what you were doing before. This phase is all about control. So long as people are going where they need to go to get frozen, extra people aren't, and people are clearing their stacks, you should be fine. A note for this phase, if she goes to pull in the raid to the middle, you will not be pulled in if you are currently LOS behind the Frost Tomb. However, you still can take damage from the AoE, so make sure you back up. Now, this week we had the quest to kill Sindragosa. If you look now, you'll see DBZ channeling a squiggly green line there. That's for the quest. It's not part of the normal fight. Don't worry about it. Now, if you do have the quest, your goal is to channel an item onto the boss, which will build stacks of a debuff on her. The goal is to have 30 stacks of the debuff on the boss when she dies in order to complete the quest. So how we built our stacks was to have whichever tank wasn't on the boss channel in order to build the stacks. It didn't work, it wasn't building up fast enough. The best way to do this is have your entire raid channel to build stacks up until 30 and then have one designated raid member continue to keep the stacks at 30 until she dies. Keep in mind you cannot start building stacks until she hits 10% health. Here I'm making a last ditch effort to try and get our 30 stacks. It didn't work out. She sucks us in and we down her. We didn't complete the quest there.